So, 7 weeks yesterday. Today makes the start of the 8th week. 600 subscribers today. I mean, this thing's moving along. I mean, I believe it's going to be something special. And part of why I started this thing, now, there's quite a few people from Virginia. I mean, just off the top, the After Prison Show, which is one of the biggest ones. Jay Williams, Let's Live Life, 23 and 1. That's 3 people from Virginia. Now, they're all from like Tidewater area. I'm from the biggest area in the western half of Virginia. So you've got, you know, I'm in Southwest Virginia, and it's basically all the little country towns that make up the corner of Virginia. Whenever they want to come shop, they come to Roanoke, where I'm from. They're it's about 300,000 people. It's not a huge place. The Roanoke County, Roanoke City, Salem, and Benton, which make up the greater Roanoke area or whatever you call it. So, but anyway, watching Jay, that's somebody I like to listen to. He's from Virginia, and then Josh, 23 and 1. There are a couple people I like to listen to. But what really kind of gave me the inspiration to like actually start a channel was listening to these prison channels is kind of like a weird sort of therapy for me, because I live a very secluded life. I have like 8 contacts in my phone that are family, immediate family, and my coaches. Now my teammates, they're some of my best friends on the planet. I don't even have their phone numbers. Now, I don't like it. It's weird. It's what works for me. I don't do social media. I don't do email, and so sorry if any of you guys try to contact me and or ask me in the comments or anything like that. It's nothing personal towards any individual one of you. It's just something I don't do. I live a weird, closed off, secluded type of life because that's what works for me. I'm what you call a high risk person. Just one bit of doing one line, one pill, whatever, put me back into selling, using all of it, and not trying to do that. It's taken a long time to get to this happy life that I've got right now, and I'm trying to keep it like that. So that's the reason for that. No disrespect or anything like that, but it's what I've ultimately decided and built for myself. So that's just how it is. But watching some of these channels, like I said, I listen to these prison stories as a weird form of therapy, because none of the people that I know or hang out with today are felons. Now, that's for my own safety, not to be around people like that. Because if I'm around people like that and they have drugs on them, the urge to use, deal, any of that type of thing, want to keep that away, want to just not even leave that up to chance. But in being kind of a fan of this prison genre type thing, I've, looked up the prison channels. Now, some of the people that do these prison channels that are actually quite successful at it, there's no way to say it better, but they're complete clowns, and a lot of them are liars. I mean, the only way you'd be able to tell they're liars is if you were in prison and certain things better than don't add up, or if you've heard this same circulated rumor, story, fable that gets told, that they tell as if it's their own story. There's certain legends and, urban legends, fairy tales that get told in the prison system that some of these guys are passing on as their own. I know better. But anybody who hasn't been to prison wouldn't know better. And it's not a fault to anybody that listens if they believe in it, because you wouldn't have known. You wouldn't have heard this urban legend or story. It's kind of one of those things that you had to be there to know better than to believe it. So, and some of these other people, that are claiming this gang or that gang. And I mean, you just look at them and listen to them talk for 1 minute, and they sound completely ridiculous. And, good for them, because they've been able to tell these stories and build themselves up to a platform in which they're making money, which I think that's awesome for them. Otherwise, what other skill set would they have to get anywhere? But for me, you won't hear my stories anywhere else. They're mine. I was at a very weird prison, Petersburg. I've looked it up. There's like one video of one guy talking about Petersburg, and he never did any follow-up videos at all. Okay? It's a very weird place for a couple of reasons. The sex offenders that get sent there, all kinds of sexual deviants that make up 40% of the population, they have to have 40% minimum in order to get funding for the sex offender management program. You put all these weirdos in one spot, and they don't have an outlet, they're going to make an outlet. They're hypersexual. I mean, they're weird people. And then, as I've said before, one of my best friends, Tyler Cornelius Porter, who's from D.C., he's one of my best friends, okay, that I had in prison. So it's nothing against D.C., and that's the reason I mention him. But a lot of the other people from D.C., not a good representation. It's probably the worst single place that's a representation of a people as a whole of any other place in the country that I have ever met in my life. And being Petersburg, Virginia is so close to D.C., the majority of D.C. starts out at Petersburg. Yeah, the majority. I mean, that's the closest place to home, so that's where they send them. So all these deviants that get sent there for the sex offender management program, then all the deviants from D.C., the D.C. predator deviants a lot of time preyed on the sex offenders, which they're sex offender, whatever, who cares? But saw a lot of wild and weird stuff. So I've got a ridiculous amount of weird, unique stories. Now also, I'm going to tell stories about stuff where I messed up. I'm going to tell stories about stuff where I thought that I was going to, come in and get it right and do this, and then it just didn't go right. I embarrassed myself. There are plenty of stories I'm going to tell where I embarrassed myself. I'm not going to portray this image of I'm some super hard, bad thug, gangster dude who came in there and did it. I was 135 pounds when I got arrested. I mean, I got laughed at when I tried to lift. But I kept lifting. What was I going to do? Stay like that? Became pound for pound, strongest white guy at Petersburg Low. An ironic title. I worked out with an all-black crew. It was Justin Berger, JB. He's in Roanoke. I'll get him on here one day. Along with a couple other people that were there, and telling a number of other stories. I've got a few people that I've talked to about this. Hadn't had anybody on here yet, but I plan on it here in the very near future. But, just watching with, like, some of these other channels, like, the beefs between each other and stuff, and, like, it's some wild stuff. Like, some of these people, like, the characters they portray themselves to be, and, like, the whole image they build up of themselves. I knew when I was 135 pounds, I knew, okay, I'll put on some muscle. And then I watched people fight, and I'm like, well, people can't really fight that good. And I knew, I wasn't, I'd been in a good handful of fights and all that, but, like, technically wise, I knew I didn't have much. So what'd I do? I trained. It's what I do twice a day. Well, I had to twice a day except for the last 6 weeks. It's the shoulder, and even then, with an injured shoulder, I'm still training twice a week right now. Went from twice a day to twice a week. I'm still doing something. Um, but point is, like, instead of talking about how hard you are and trying to put up this image, going and I'm training to learn how to fight and be a better fighter. Been doing it for 5 years now. And these guys just try to think about a harder story. All the time that I spend training twice a day, they're thinking about a story that they can tell to convince you that they're twice as hard, 20 million times harder than they really are. I mean, it's foolish. I know it's a little bit of a rant, but just watching some of these channels and some of this stuff, it's so ridiculous. Like, if you're just a normal person, just a normal dude watching this, and you wonder, what would it be like for me if I got locked up? Chances are you'd make the same mistakes I made. Because I was just a normal dude who was on drugs and sold drugs, got involved in that type of thing. I wasn't some crazy gangster, this, that. No, I mean, I got involved in a lot of wild stuff, you know what I mean? There was stuff that happened and everything else, but, like, just being real with you, like, I didn't have any special skills. I wasn't any special killer or something like that. I mean, there's a couple times that we technically kidnapped somebody, you know, for selling fake drugs and stuff like that. But I mean, it was a few of us and everything. But that wasn't like anything like to be proud of, or it got you points or anything. It was just, I mean, it sounds cooler than it really was. I mean, it's just like technically one of those things. But you know, my point is, I think that ultimately what I'm doing here is going to end up being way more relatable than some of these people, you know what I mean? Like some of these, you know, like white blood members that can't say, that aren't just white, but they're albino. They look like powder, you know, that albino dude, you know, dropping the N-bomb every other word. Can't go a sentence without saying the N-bomb. You know, I think I'm a little more relatable than that. So, you know, I'm just going to keep on doing what I'm doing. It's just something, you know, figured I'd say something on tonight. Been having a little bit of problems with my left ear. I sleep with earplugs in. I have PTSD. Okay, you go through your daily life and somebody just randomly gets stabbed up next to you or has their jaw broken next to you, you get a little bit twitchy, which I was. She's helped a lot with that. She's helped a tremendous amount with that. And also, there's no other channel that has Sasha. So that's something special I offer here too. And Buddy, my little mutt dog. Yes, that's something special I got too. But anyway, yeah, I've had this ear problem, so sorry, you know, don't have quite the enthusiasm that I do normally, but the last video I had an earplug in halfway. See, I sleep with earplugs in my ears, and when I was in the middle of my sleep the other night, I just pushed it back in and like a vacuum of air happened, and and I've been hearing this constant ringing in my ear, and it's been like messing with my equilibrium and just messing me up. You know, I'm sure it'll pass. But today my enthusiasm isn't quite as high as it normally would be. So that's a little bit of a rant. Sorry about all that. But you know, thank you guys, each and every one of you guys that have been here from the beginning, and all the new people. This is still the beginning. The people from the beginning, thank you. You know, Tristan Smith, the kid, you know, I was worried about you for a couple days. I'm glad you're back now, buddy. Been a minute since I heard from you, you know. But anyway, everybody who's been a part of this thing, sorry, I'm really going having an issue right now. But you know, thank you guys for checking this thing out. And it's not just going to be prison stories. I plan on going to a variety of martial arts academies, and each and every state that I go to, I'm going to go to various jiu-jitsu, judo, karate, whatever martial arts, and try to find the best people, and not only get a couple techniques with them, but do an interview with them. Ask them about real fights and real situations they've been in. I think that'd be something cool too, you know? This is a weird mix of stuff that I bring. And, you know, there's some people here that train, that have some of the issues that I had, that might have been in jail or prison, you know, but it's a weird mix of people that I feel like are all coming together. But the mix of people that I've talked to personally in these comment sections, there's not a one of you that I hadn't really thought were good people. And you know, there's so many just ridiculous, like, trying to be too tough trolls and all that stuff. And you know, now I know once it gets big, there are going to be some idiots and stuff, but hopefully you guys will lynch them out. You know, and I want this to be a place, you know, where people, you know, can feel like, you know, they leave a comment and somebody else will be able to help them. Sometimes for me, because see, as opposed to everybody else who's like, I've got it all figured out, I'm so hard and all this stuff, I don't. It's been 12 years and a few days since I've done heroin. But I don't look at any day as any closer than I could be from losing everything. And part of just being open and honest with that, with you guys that possibly also are going through that same thing, I hope it lets you know you're not the only one. You know, addiction is a serious thing. It's a misunderstood thing. And a lot of these other channels, like even ones that I respect a lot, look at it as like a morality issue, and it's not. It's not. It's something. It's a mental illness, just like anything else. And if you learn how to treat it correctly, to deal with it correctly, it's not. Doesn't mean you're a bad person. Doesn't mean anything else. Then you can fix your life. You know. And it's never too late. If you know somebody that's having issues, a lot of the symptoms of addiction make somebody look like they're just a crappy person. It's a symptom of it, but it's never too late. Anybody, no matter how deep, no matter how bad, they can pull themselves out of it. And I want to give hope to a lot of people like that. So I know it's been a little bit of a rant today. I've been going on with issues with dang year, but we're at 600 now. Thank you guys. I mean, it's tremendous. It's been a huge help to me. Like I said, training twice a day, every day, and I'm not just saying going in and training, you know, just doing some little pity pat thing. I'm talking about training as hard as I can till I feel like I want to die. 2 hours twice a day, 4 hours a day, 5 days a week, and then 2 hours on Saturday, and even 2 hours on Sunday, 7 days a week is what I am used to doing. Since I've had my shoulder injury, the day I had my shoulder injury was the day this whole thing started. So, you guys being here, you guys listening, you guys commenting, without my training, I felt like I was going to go crazy. So, I mean, you guys have been there for me. You guys have helped me. And, I mean, I thank you for that. More than I can tell you. Like, thank you. That has been tremendous for me. I mean, I don't know what I do. This has been something that is awesome. I mean, you know, sometimes when a bad thing happens, a good thing can come of it. You know, that's what's happened with this. Everything leads you to where you're at. If I hadn't gotten arrested, I wouldn't have been in jail. I wouldn't have watched UFC with Red in jail, and then Red wouldn't have suggested I get out and trained, and I wouldn't have got out and trained. And then when I was in prison, I wouldn't have found out my karate teacher was a pervert, pedophile, got arrested. He did 6 months for molesting a girl for 2 years. I got 8 years for a drug deal I didn't profit off of or arrange, that simply took place in my apartment. But anyway, during that time, it let me reframe what I wanted to train. I read George St. Pierre and Jeff Thompson's books, and judo brown belt, jiu-jitsu blue belt, also box, multiple different gyms. It's what works for me. Now, not everybody is going to have martial arts as their thing. Find your thing, find what works for you. Get it going. If you can find something that you can put your whole self into, and you have addiction issues, it'll change your life. You don't just have to simply resign to just living a boring life. For me, when someone's trying to punch me in the face or put their shin against my jaw or break my arm with an arm bar or choke me unconscious or throw me 5 foot acrobatically through the air and slam me on my back with a judo hip technique, I don't have time to think about life's problems. So when people do drugs and it's an escape for them, it makes them forget about life's problems. When I have that one problem in front of me, and that one problem is that person in front of me who's trying to take me out in whatever way they're trying to take me out, whether it be a punch, kick, throw, trip, or submission, choke. That's all I can think about, is how to solve that problem in front of me. It's a problem I have to solve. So that is my new dope. My dope is that. But your dope can be a number of other things. It's whatever you're interested in. So it's been a little bit of a rant, but anyway, thank you guys. I appreciate you from being here from the start, the ones of you that have, and the ones of you who are just showing up. This thing's still starting. We're not even 2 months old yet. So, this thing's still growing, and it's going to get a whole lot bigger. So I'm looking at these other channels, these other clowns, these people that just are fools. Fools who promote stupid stuff, not a good role model for a kid. You wouldn't want your kid watching these idiots. I'll tell you that. The ones I'm thinking of. And so this is going to be a whole lot bigger and better. And it's launching off, man. In the past week, just, you got the whole YouTube studio thing. I'm looking at how many hours and all this. In the past week, the watch time, my God. The watch time in the last week has been as much as all the weeks before it put together. So 7 weeks since I started. In the past 7 days, I have the same amount of watch time in hours as all the previous time. So whatever the algorithm is, I guess it's figured out. I guess I've been putting the algorithm. Anyway, I'm gonna give you guys good videos this coming evening. So this is tonight that I'm filming this. So it'll be tomorrow. I'm gonna give you guys another one on that on Ghost, the booty bandit worse than fleece. I'm gonna give you part 3 of that. It's a good one. I've got it planned. It'll be out tomorrow evening, so be ready for that.